I can see it in your eyes.
Keep going.
I can see it in your smile. Can you hear an echo
Fixed.
in my voice?
Fixed?
Do you get
And my
techno?
arms are open wide. Okay, we're back.
All right.
What's the next part? Because it's not just where you... nope, I don't know the rest.
I don't think you can hit that.
Maybe
note.
maybe the singing only sound good with the reverb. By
Probably
the way,
was better with...
welcome everyone to the Alfalfa podcast. Also, welcome Arman, who just showed up 30 seconds ago, enough to fill your glass.
Cheers, bud.
Cheers. Welcome, Eric, back to the United States.
Cheers, brother.
Feels good to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love when the guys checking your passports say "Welcome home."
Welcome home.
It feels so nice.
good.
Yeah. Do you
And then you
reply-
see Biden's picture right as you walk through customs.
No, our great leader.
Do you reply back, America?
Actually, I didn't get it this time, but they did. They did tell me, "Hey, your interview's ready for global entry." About freaking time! I've been waiting 2 years for this thing.
Yeah, the thing's on a long hiatus.
Yeah.
I'm like 2 years as well. Never happening.
God.
And it's only because my global entry expired. Never, Alpha, never let it expire.
Oh
No.
man.
Never let it expire because you have to redo your application and go to the back of the line.
Mine
Silly.
expired and they just kept extending it because they can get me in for an interview. So they're like, whatever, it's fine.
What? And this is the other thing. There's no like streamlined rules to this. It seems like everyone's treated differently.
Odd.
Wow.
Classism.
So let's get into it.
Yeah.
So
Are we going to talk about Eric's turkey or do we
you don't know what we're talking about today.
No.
Should I let you know what we're going to talk about
planning
today?
meeting.
Missed the meeting. Sorry.
Oh, boy.
All right, guys. Today we are Arman Asadi, Eric Johansson, Nick Urbani. Steven Cesaro is out. He's in Italy, roaming around the countryside, I think.
Sipping spritzes.
Yeah, you know he is. Oh, little jealous. Little
Spritz
jealous.
all day.
Yep.
Sounds so good.
He's out having fun. Maybe he'll be back next week. I think so. So today, Arman, just so you know what we're talking about today.
Yeah, tell me the agenda, please.
Yeah, so we're going to get a little recap on Eric's turkey trip because we haven't really talked to him.
Eric's turkey. Talk about
Eric's
Eric's
turkey.
turkey.
How did that get through so fast?
I think I said it earlier.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We're talking about Eric's turkey?
So let's hear about that because that'll be fun. So we didn't know if you were going to be here in time, so we planned a lot of macro talk. You're so excited.
I'm so
Yeah.
excited. I'm going to sing Lionel Richie the entire time over you.
Oh, please. What else are we talking about? I think we have in the meaning section.
Ooh yeah.
Yeah, what's the meaning?
So,
Okay.
Eric, yeah, you want to tee it up a little bit? Don't go into it.
Well, I think there's like two things that I would like to discuss. One, I think both are kind of related to my travels here, but one is Dying with Zero, that book that Nick was talking about.
Yeah.
I read through like 40% of it on this trip, and there's some cool stuff that I want to talk about. And then on another unrelated subject, I want to talk about is history overrated?
Yeah, I saw that in the title, and I'm already triggered.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm glad you showed up
Okay.
for this exact subject.
Can't wait for this one. I
and
don't
then,
know what you guys are even toying at here.
We're gonna do a mini real estate deal review.
Ooh.
We're not gonna go into like all the specifics, but I'll give the like
I like these.
the conclusion.
The people love the mailbox money, Nick.
Yeah, the mailbox money. So it's already been posted in mailbox money. So if you're in the Discord, under the money channel, there's a thread called mailbox money. You can hop in there and you can read all about it. You can see the deal. You can watch a YouTube video about the deal. And yeah, we'll talk about that today as well. And yeah, support the pod. Become a member. Donate. Go to streamlabs.com/alfalfapod. And any donation over $9, get your comment on the screen. Has to be during the live stream. So shout out to Tunsky. I saw you made a donation today. Much love, brother. Good seeing you in Austin.
Thank you, Tunsky.
What a legend.
He is a legend. So much fun, man. Good vibes every time I see him. Yeah, so much fun with him in person. And then, yeah, subscribe to on all platforms. All the links are at alfalfapod.com. I don't think there's any announcements other than that.
No, just more of a welcome back, Eric.
Yeah. What are you sipping on there?
I got your Casa Azul organic. You don't see that every day in the label. Tequila añejo, 100% puro de agave. How was that, Spanish speakers? Please let me know 1 to 10.
It's like a knockoff of Casamigos and Clase Azul, but
Is it?
I
Tastes
don't know.
pretty good,
The
man.
name Casa Azul
It tastes
seems
pretty
kind of
good. I like,
unoriginal.
as you know, the more aged, so this works for me. But I'm not a tequila guy, so I just wanted to try it.
Nick, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking ranch water again.
These are so good.
They
They're
are
so
really
good. They
good.
go down easy. They're smooth. Going to a place called Kinmei. It's like the
Oh, Kinmei,
Yeah.
next to my place.
omakase
You're going.
tonight.
Whoo!
So just gonna try to not go in too hot into that dinner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
So
doing a lot of sake after this?
I believe so. I believe so.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I've heard that's one of the best restaurants in the city. So
So far, they're gunning
Enjoy.
for a Michelin man. So we'll
yeah.
see.
Yeah.
All right, so shout out to our sponsor, ZBiotics. Thank you for sponsoring the podcast.
Damn, I only got a 6.5 on the Spanish. Ooh,
Wow.
got more work to do.
Go to zbiotics.com/alfalfa to check out the discount code. I think every email address you buy with, you can use that for 15% off.
Good call, Nick.
It's a pre-alcohol probiotic, so you take it before you drink. You probably did not have a ZBiotics because you just
Nope.
walked in.
Nope.
Ooh, risky, brother.
Nope. Gonna less than 2.
Dead.
Risky.
Yeah. Can't go to 3.
All that acetaldehyde just brimming up in
Marinating.
your body.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, ZBiotics has an enzyme that breaks down that toxin, so makes you not feel so much shitty the next morning. Yeah, you weren't at permissionless, but we mentioned Arman last week. Solid performance by ZBiotics during the conference. Got the workouts in, got the hangouts in.
Great job.
Yeah, we brought a bunch to the meetup.
I saw on our Discord a lot of positive reviews.
Yeah.
From ZBiotics
Yeah, for
enjoyers.
sure. And
I
then
told an investor yesterday, and he was like, "I don't believe you." I was like, "I'm telling you, it works.
They
You'll
need like
feel
a-
better in the morning."
they need like a trial option, like a dirt cheap trial option. Try
Yeah.
one
he's
time.
like, "I've
money
heard
back
this
guarantee."
before.
Yeah.
I've heard this before."
So anyway, you guys know we love it. It's worked for the 4 of us. So hopefully it'll work for you. Try it out. Yeah, zbiotics.com/alfalfa. Thanks for sponsoring the podcast. And we'll see Zach next Friday.
Oh yeah.
Next Friday.
Okay,
better-
so I did
yeah.
put this out in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, please enter the Discord. It's time you enter the Discord. But if you really still want to be lazy, you could I don't know how else you can get in touch with us. You can DM us on Twitter or something. But please let us know what you want us to talk to Zach about. So we're interviewing the founder and CEO of ZBiotics. And we currently are thinking a mix of the science and
Business.
the science behind the startup.
Yeah.
Kind of maybe the science, components of like how this all works and why it's effective.
I can't wait for you two to chat because
It'll be fun.
you're in Techstars. He went through Y Combinator.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
So
I think he went through it in 2018, and he's doing great. And it's a great company, and we'd love to learn from him on that side too. So I think it'll be a perfect balance of maybe we should come up with a good meeting topic for him too.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Get him part of the crew.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, what would the meeting topic be for that? That's interesting. Maybe the right amount of alcohol to drink.
Like for your entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah, just lifestyle. That'd be
Something
fun.
like that.
All right, Eric. Give us highlights.
So you guys have been to Turkey.
Okay, did you have a big, hairy man in a hammam massage you and treat you like a king?
No, I got a very unique hammam experience. So I went with Mina.
Sounds like you didn't do it right.
Well, we went to a private one where we could both be in the same hammam,
Oh.
and I had a petite little woman rubbing me down, but she was very.
So you went to a Korean spa.
This girl was so strong. This girl was so strong. She was rubbing me so hard, like sort of like head to toe, right? Like tip to tail. And
Wait. Was she getting in there?
tip to tail, I thought is a phrase that they use when you're like doing the full animal, nose to tail. Oh, sorry.
You gotta tell the goat story later.
Okay, so
What is happening? I
so
don't know this tip to tail talk.
I'm in a private hammam with Mina, and there's 2 girls, and you know, I'm naked, covered by like the smallest towel ever, and this girl is like getting deep into like.
Yeah, they're cleaning you.
So I'm face down first, and then she.
down?
Yeah, I'm dick down, and she's like rubbing deep into my butt cheeks,
Loins?
and then like inner cheeks.
Inner.
And I was thinking that I'm like such a slip away from a thumb entry. It's like this close.
Oh Jesus. Oh God.
But the hammam was incredible. Like another highlight of the hammam
Because of the thumb slip, or
You wanted it, huh? Dude, that's fine. I don't kink shame.
Well, I kept looking over at Mina, being like, "Is this okay?
am I in trouble?
Is it cool with you?" Well, it was weirder is that like after doing sort of like the lower body, she starts working on like shampooing my scalp, and then she with her like thumb and forefinger started shampooing my mustache.
Oh my God.
Just a slight stroking back and forth.
Like
Oh my
over and
God.
over. And I think I had to like get rid of the mustache after
Was
that.
it orgasmic?
It's not supposed to be an erogenous zone.
Wow, that's one way to find out. Oh my
So
God.
hammam was good. I mean,
Okay.
Istanbul's gorgeous.
Yeah.
We did Cappadocia.
Oh, you went there.
There's like all these hot air balloons.
The balloons.
Oh, it's like so picturesque. It's like a dream. I was thinking
Is it as pretty in real life?
it's like more.
Wow, nice.
It's just so beautiful. So you have like 200 hot air balloons going up at sunrise every
wow.
every morning.
Every morning?
Yeah, that's like
Shit.
it's like the shtick in this town. And I think being on a hot air balloon is probably cool independently, but like having it
is.
like 200 at the same time makes it like magical.
Did you also rise in a balloon or more watch?
We did both. So
Nice.
one day we did a hot air balloon. The next morning we were like just from our hotel like terrace, we were watching them go up, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, they're underrated, by the way. That's some alfalfa. Hot air
Yeah.
balloons are dope.
Did you get in the water at all on a boat?
Yeah. So we did Antalya is like a little beach town like on the Mediterranean, and spent a couple days there. That was like sort of my vacation speed. You know, I like to do that kind of thing.
Yep.
But this is going to be alluding to our later topic. It's like,
Cool.
you know, there's so much history in Turkey, and I don't know. I think that like tourists in particular, like they spend too much time focused on like really like ancient things, and like, you know, you see this deal where people like line up forever, and then they like have this little like audio guide that's like some little device they're holding next to their ear, and you pay this money and you wait in line to like walk around some ancient site, and I'm just thinking like, what the hell are we even doing here? Like, but
All
that's
right, yeah, don't get
questions.
into it.
I have questions.
I want to save that for later.
You were there for a wedding, your
What?
brother-in-law's wedding.
Brother-in-law got married.
Okay, can you tell the conversation that the bride's dad
Okay.
said to you because he started to like you?
So yeah, I'm gonna make this kind of quick because like the story is pretty epic, but
Yeah.
I don't want to waste too much time. But my brother-in-law got married to a girl he'd never met before. It wasn't an arranged marriage or anything. They just like met over
online, right?
They met online. They met over Instagram. She slid into his DM, and they began an online relationship. Talked for 4 years, and then
This is totally documentary worthy.
It is.
totally. And like we could literally spend a whole episode on this, so I'll just kind of like move quick. So I think everyone was kind of suspicious about this relationship and about this girl's intentions. She lives in Iran. He is originally from Iran. They wanted to get married. So like typically, like I think most guys can't even go back to Iran because they make them serve in the military for 2 years. So they go to Turkey to get married. So that's what we were doing out there. And it turned out the relationship was beautiful. Like it's true love. It was true love, and like I think all of
The fears.
all the fears were assuaged, and you know I think I was like convinced pretty quickly because I could like just sense the love. But you know, his family, it was really kind of unique because they didn't do any diligence leading up to the wedding.
Right.
But when we got to Turkey, like his dad took it upon himself to be like, well, now I'm going to actually vet this family.
This is your father-in-law.
My father-in-law.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at him like, it's too late, dude. We're all here. Like
No,
the
they're
wedding's
getting
happening.
married.
Like,
Yeah.
the wedding's happening
Yeah.
tomorrow. Like, what do you
Right.
mean? Like, what do you mean you're gonna vet them? So I think what I'm trying to say by that is like he had this really like standoffish kind of demeanor, and I took it upon myself to be sort of like the
bridge.
friendly one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was like the sort of like the lubricant.
Kid's born for this position.
You are
social lubricant.
so born for this position.
I felt like I was like on duty.
They're
you know,
lucky. They're lucky to that was happening because
Yeah.
it would have caused a deep fragment.
dude. And my one job was to like make everything a little friendlier. And by the end of it, I mean, it wasn't even that long, but by the end of it, they were like, you come to Iran, and when you come, I will kill a goat, and we will
Wait,
eat.
is this Borat or something? Like, what are you talking about?
He said he's gonna kill a goat, and that we would eat from tip to tail this goat.
Oh, yeah.
Can
I
you
see what
redo that in a Persian accent?
Yeah, you
I
need a
don't know
dad.
if I need a clip first. I
mean,
need a clip.
it-
I need
none
to
of-
envision this man.
Well,
first.
none of it was in English. I mean, this was all translated back to me.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So I'm pretty honored. I feel like I'm.
Well, there's a crazy dish that has been like, originated like where the goat, where people like, in a lot of places they'll eat like goat, like a lot of different, like the brain,
Yep.
for example, the eyes. And these things can be considered like delicacies. So it's almost like a way of honoring you probably and being like, we're gonna feast, brother. We're gonna feast
felt
on
great.
some fucking goat brain. But tip to tail, I don't know. I don't want to like each get a ball. Like
So don't go to a mom and be like, "Can I get the tip to tail massage?" Yeah.
oh my god.
All right.
Oh,
well,
that's good.
Eric, you've been keeping up with anything in the markets because I have so much to talk to you about. I have ideas. I want you to I have questions.
No, this was more of a true vacation. I was
Okay.
I was pretty removed, but I think I'm ready for macro talk.
Okay. So, Jordan, can you ready that graphic that I showed you? So I want to pull this up. So there basically been like two camps these days.
I've been dying to hear your breakdown on this graphic.
right, so
you
there's
threw it
been-
in the chat. And
All right,
I
is,
just,
it live on the screen? All right, I'll throw it
yeah.
live on the screen. So for those listening, what we're looking at
Like it.
is a little chart, and on the x-axis we're showing the S&P 500 prices, and the y-axis we're showing the 10-year bond yield. And there's three spots on there. There's soft landing island, and the line moves to higher for longer island, and then eventually ends in recession island. So it's been interesting because we've had two camps, in 2023. One is like recession imminent, and then the other is like, no, like up only from here. And the up only from here has been kind of the definite minority of the group. But what I think, and by the way, this chart and these phrases are from a guy called Andy Constant on Twitter. Jordan, can you throw his Twitter handle in the chat when you get a chance?
He's a good follow.
He's a great follow. So he's an ex-Bridgewater guy as well. And he's had the alpha on this for most of the year. And so yeah, follow him on Twitter. I think he's got like a company called Damp Spring. They publish research for hedge funds. I think it's available to retail investors too. But anyway, the actual progression that he's talked about before it's happening is we're going to be in this transitory Goldilocks soft landing island, if you will. And a soft landing is, positive GDP growth, positive job growth, no job losses, and the Fed firmly hits 2% inflation. And then what he's been saying is there's going to be this realization by the market that the Fed isn't going to cut, sometime down the road because there's a recession. We're actually going to be in this place where interest rates are going to stay much higher for longer, and what that's going to cause is a retracement in the S&P 500. And that will come because interest rates have risen higher. And so if you look at the 10-year yield or even the 2-year or the 30-year, the yield is a product of a few different things, right? It's what the Fed funds rate is. It's what people think inflation is going to be, right? Because they want a yield higher than inflation. And then the bond supply. of how much the Treasury is issuing bonds. And I think if you've watched any bit of the news, you've probably heard the deficit is massive this year. I think we're projected for like $2 trillion. And the way they finance it is they issue bonds. So in Q3, they were smart. They issued only T-bills. And they saw, if those of you who listened to our net liquidity episode, we talked about the reverse repo facility. There was something like, I don't know, a couple $1 trillion in there. People just in money market funds essentially getting high yield. And Janet Yellen saw that and was like, you know what, let's just issue T-bills because there's a demand for these like 5%, T-bills
Pretty
yielding.
nice. Yeah, pretty juicy.
Yeah, and that's been true. But at the end of July, they announced what they're going to issue in Q4, and they're going to issue a ton of bonds. So T-bills are these, anywhere from a few days to 1 year treasuries. The bonds and coupons are, really like 2 years and above, 10-year, 30-year. So that's what they're going to dump on the market in Q4. And it got announced July 31st. And this guy, Andy Conson's like, guys, the market is going to realize we're going to be higher for longer, and it's going to cause a pullback in the market. And if you kind of look at the stock market, the S&P 500, it kind of peaked around the time of that announcement. So here we are transitioning from soft landing island to, higher for longer. S&P 500 is kind of coming down. And then the next question is, do we actually move to this recession island eventually? In the short term, and maybe this is where you probably might finally agree with me, is I don't think we will. I think like we're basically front running all this supply getting dumped on the market. The yields have risen pretty dramatically, especially the 10-year and 30-year. And what that does is it raises the risk premium you need to invest in stocks because you have this risk-free alternative. So, you see like a little multiple compression on stocks typically. And I don't think we will. I think maybe like the 200-day moving average is around 4,200. I think maybe we'll like see a bounce, and around that time, people are going to look around and be like, GDP's still good, jobs still good, and maybe we continue on to what Steven talked about, hitting maybe 5,000 S&P before we eventually reach there. So my question to you is, does that logic sound right? Like because yields are going up and perceived to stay up for a long time, that causes multiple compression. That's what we're seeing now, and that it may bounce back up. And
yeah, I think your logic is sound. I think the part that I would balk at maybe is like, I don't think that the investor universe has like not seen that. I think like everyone's kind of expecting what that path shows. So I don't think we're going to see S&P go below 3,500
in a recession, if we hit a recession.
Well, even maybe, yeah, I basically am taking the opposite side of that bet, but I think people were sort of like positioned the wrong way, and then stocks went higher. Yep. And I don't see this idea where now it's like now everyone's going to get rugged so hard.
Yeah, because I'm really scared, by the way, if that is the case.
Are you hearing a lot of are you seeing a lot of credit event type stuff like, oh, I don't know, commercial real estate or banks imploding again? Because I've seen that and I don't necessarily agree with it. I don't think we're on the verge of some 2007 or even
I'm definitely not, but I also know that most people weren't aware of those things happening when they were happening underneath the radar. So no, I'm not seeing them happening, but I also am not close enough to it to know that it is happening at all.
So let me ask you, when we go to this higher for longer phase, which is almost a certainty.
I think we're there now.
We're there
because
now.
Because the rates went up, stocks came down.
Yeah, and I guess now what we're worried about is the duration of this higher for longer.
Right.
And what I'm going to ask you is well, how do you think that's going to play out? Because I don't know. I'll tee you up here by framing my own. I think that when GDP sort of slows a little bit and labor kind of comes back a little bit, that's actually going to be kind of bullish in a way for stocks, because it's going to be oh, it's working. Inflation will come back down.
Okay, but I think the sequencing is important here. So before labor weakens, that's what you're saying. Labor weakens and then kind of bullish from there because
Yeah.
you know inflation will be under control.
Yeah.
But before that has to happen, there's a sequencing, and Andy talks about this, and we've talked about Darius Dale. He talks about like a sequence of things, and typically from what I've read in various researches, it seems to be, you know, housing goes first. This is well before a recession starts, and then corporate profits decrease, and then after corporate profits decrease, then you see labor weaken, and then you see inflation weaken, and corporate profits tend to decrease, you know, like whatever, like on a median basis, like 8 months before recession starts. Labor is coincident with the recession starting, and then inflation kind of finally comes down.
And I guess
after.
if we use these dominoes, like we haven't even seen corporate profits
Not
come
at
down
all.
at all.
Not
So-
at all. And so Andy's argument is that as the yields rise, first the multiple compression comes down because people, you know, they're going to require more risk, so they're going to sell stocks, maybe go into bonds potentially. And then he says the next phase is earnings estimates get revised downward. And then once the pressure is under companies, you know, because we're seeing earnings estimates decline, then they actually do that. And it's during that period where, you know, there is a risk, but the risk is unknown. Like, and I'd argue that you don't really care. Like once we get to that point, then start caring about like, is it going to be this slow trough of a recession, or is it going to be some sharp, and is it going to be a 12-month recession? Like just knowing that it's going to happen should tell you how to position your portfolio because
Yeah, and to like edify your position, like there is room on the downside on the multiples. Like I think the S&P is trading at above 19x, which is historically high.
Yep.
You know, and then you see like sort of the growthy tech that are outside of the Magnificent Seven or whatever they're calling that. Like growth tech is really, really high multiple right now.
yeah.
So
Yeah, like the Magnificent Seven, I think I've seen a bunch of great charts lately, like showing that they're the significant majority of the return for the year, both the S&P and NASDAQ.
Yeah.
And so if rising bond yields hurt those companies the most because of the risk premium expansion, then you can expect the whole index to kind of come down. I'm kind of with you that like 3,500, so not too much of a decrease. Seems like a good spot, but like also again, you don't have to really figure that part out yet. Just knowing that multiples coming down, stocks under pressure, maybe earnings start to decline, and then that's when you really start to care and start to peak up.
yeah, I mean, I think like below 3,500 actually comes into play pretty easily if you get multiple compression at the same time as earnings are coming down.
That'll be rough, right? That'll be easy to get down there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking is like I've deployed, I think 20% ish of the cash I had,
Yeah.
you know, ahead of this, assigning the probability is like 20% chance that like just Powell just like parks this thing perfectly, controls all the levers on his like 1,000 lever soundboard, which just, I don't know.
And when you're buying, like when you're deploying this 20% ish, like, are you buying ETH with that?
ETH and Coinbase.
ETH and Coinbase, yeah.
And like all the other shit, so much time to accumulate those other things.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it is, like call it anything else further out in the risk curve, which I think relatively ETH and Coinbase are pretty far out there.
Well, I like how the ETH and Coinbase are both like significantly down from their highs. You know, like it's different than buying Nvidia or something that is like setting a new high every day.
Yeah. So that was something I wanted to ask you guys too. So let's say this does happen. We get a little lull in all asset prices, all of them. And you get a chance to set yourself up for the next decade. A lot of fourth turning talk, you know, and I think we're starting to see signs of that. So like fourth turning is a lot of like disruption, institutions kind of crumbling. So higher inflation, higher rates, slower growth, maybe more geopolitical conflict. And I put down a list of things that I like kind of want to own during that time. And I want to
hear this list. Yeah.
So defense, one, like that just seems so obvious in a fourth turning defense stocks. Like if there's more conflict, they're going to be selling bullets and guns and everything else.
Lockheed.
Or even something like Palantir, which is like a crossover between AI and defense.
Totally.
You know, like right up the alley there. I still like these GLP-1 drug plays, even though it has nothing to do with foreturning, just Americans overweight. Americans like quick fix.
Sure do.
I think AI is still like a good, have a basket of stocks there. And then really commodities. So gold, maybe like copper, things like that, like hard assets.
Oil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bitcoin, bro.
Yeah. And crypto specifically with like moneyness characteristics.
Yeah, but I think if what you're describing, like fourth turning type stuff, it's Bitcoin. It's not. I'm sorry. I know we talk about ETH a lot, but I think Bitcoin's the winner there.
I agree with you on that. Do you think this fourth turning will be more of like a narrative, like a spooky narrative, or do you think that will actually
comes to fruition?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Because like
I think it's already happening.
Well, I don't.
It's funny. These things are funny like that, where sometimes the event is occurring, and it's right under your nose, but you're like, nah, that's never going to come. That's never going to happen. And then when you look back historically.
Well, these are like 100-year cycles, and like maybe it does happen in 2047 or something. Like,
well, I think there's that. What's that old like
rapidly then suddenly? Is that what you mean?
That or the frog boiling in a pot of water?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Like he's the one going through it. It's slowly boiling. He doesn't even know he's literally boiling.
Well, we know
about to die.
We know for certain that we're the frog and the water's boiling. We know that for certain.
Yeah.
But I just think that it might be a very slow simmer.
Like, we may not notice it because you're right. It's going to happen over a 10 to maybe 1 or 2 decade time period.
I think that when you're talking about this like recession island coming and S&P pulling back, that is way more like tangible to me than like the fourth turning. Where
I guess it's just an opportunity to set up for the next decade, because the reason we're talking about this in the first place, why it's important, is that just holding an S&P 500 for 10 years, like Druckenmiller's like 10 years later, you could end up in the same spot.
Yeah, and we've seen that happen with like the S&P over other decades, where it's just like it's a lost decade of return.
It's scary.
It's totally scary. I think that we might go to all-time highs before the fourth turning ever rears its head.
Yeah. What do you think about commodities in there? You like that?
Yeah, I'm a fan.
I guess the idea is that if you're China, Russia, anyone not necessarily like in the U.S. sphere or don't want to be, you don't want to hold treasuries, and you might start hoarding actual things you can use.
Yeah, like real assets. I think like housing is a good one. I think it's a great one. Because, as bad as it is here, it's literally the same in every country. Like huge debt to GDP, deficits, like it's bad.
Yeah. Like when you look back over the dollar and they kind of, there's certain points in history, like when Nixon removed us from the gold standard. I think there was another time when there was an issue with gold. Those were like key marks in the dollar. I think we'll look back at like when we kind of banned Russia from the SWIFT system and we confiscated their treasuries. Like that'll be another, like I'm talking in 20 years, like 2047, we'll look back and be like, that was a defining moment.
Well, it'll line up pretty closely with like the immense printing that happened after COVID. So like it'll be hard to ascribe.
Yeah, you'll say like those things are just right next to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like,
Question. So, just for the, general sense of your higher for longer talk, can we just say how longer?
As long as the drivers of inflation still persist. So as long as we don't see unemployment rate spike.
Okay.
So there's no like, prescription for it, but it's like you look at initial claims and continuous claims, they come out every Thursday. And if those things start peaking,
not higher for longer as long as unemployment.
go when it starts going up, you could probably start to be like,
okay, we're good.
but from like that's a good question. I think like what Nick's driving at is like you see these rates, right? Like this what were you looking at? The 30-year rate or the 10-year rate?
Yeah, 10-year rate.
Okay, that was like the vertical axis.
Yeah.
So like that 10-year rate, I think it peaked out on that chart at like 5% or 4.75 or something. That's still like in absolute terms like a very low yield. So like I don't think that it's as constrictive as you're ascribing it. Like I think it's still like on a historic basis that's still like kind of stimulative, you know? I think it's fine.
No, I mean,
And then-
high rates, I guess they are somewhat. Oh, you're saying that the rates are low enough.
I mean, back in like, what was it, Jimmy Carter era, rates were 20% or
Yes,
something.
but the forward-looking inflation rate was much higher because the inflation expectations were through the fucking roof.
And then like I think some people would claim, well, don't look at the absolute rate, look at the rate of change. And like we've seen the rate of change like spike dramatically and like nothing happened. I think where I'm at is I just see the incentives of sort of like the powers that be to keep this Ponzi going no matter what, where like you sort of just never take your medicine until you die. And like I don't see us dying anytime soon. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, I hear those rate of change arguments and comparing it to history, but I think what really matters is what's the real interest rate. Like, what's the real interest rate in terms of where do you expect inflation to go over the same time horizon? And it's how positive that real rate is, because that's what gets people to buy into those, because if they can get a significant premium over inflation, that's when you're actually earning money over a long period of time. So, yeah, I do think, you know, like if we had a recession, let's say Powell's got to like, I don't know, ease somehow. You think he goes, where do you think he pulls things back to?
I don't think he really would even. Like, it just doesn't seem like that's his desire. Like, I think he just wants to stay higher for longer, sort of
As long as possible.
as long as possible, to Arman's question. It's just like, I don't know, a decade?
Yeah.
Like, super long, like a lot longer than we're imagining. But I also think that asset prices can still survive that and be okay with that, because they have been in the past.
I do think like 100% of, you know, all this bond supply hasn't even hit the market. It's going to hit the market, I think, starting end of this week or next week. It's already priced in. Like, I don't know if the yields are going to go that much higher, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if, I'm curious if the S&P 500 is going to bounce off this like 200-day moving average and then resume all-time highs again.
I think so. And like, they're going to issue longer term bonds, and you know who's going to buy? Like, no one's going to want to buy them because they're the stupidest investment on earth. Who's going to buy them? The Treasury's going to buy them. And
Yeah.
Ponzi continues.
The Fed's going to buy them.
Fed, yeah.
I do think, you know, even if we don't have a recession, if the Fed's going to have to stimulate at some point, maybe not in the next year, not because the economy's fucking up, but because the Treasury can't continue to stack up debt at this high of an interest rate. They just can't.
Or it can, and then it just does. Because like we are now. We're
Yeah.
at 33 trillion, and nobody cares. Like,
No. It will care. Like,
we're at 33 trillion.
right. At an effective low interest rate. And so when that effective interest rate goes up, the debt service is real. All the like Social Security, Medicare, all those payments are real. Defense is real. And then what happens when, you know, the populace can't get their money? Like when they don't get the programs they want.
I mean, what you're describing is,
You're saying we monetize the debt eventually.
I think, of course, we monetize the debt. But I what you're saying is a obvious problem, and I just don't think that it rears its head over the next like 12 months or something, which
Yeah.
is like what we're talking about.
I gotcha. Okay. Anything else on?
No, I don't know. I think this conversation is really important, because like I don't even know how to get out of this problem, because we have to. The only answer is to like have immense growth, grow your way out of the problem, and maybe AI does that. Maybe that like changes,
Productivity.
Yeah, where like productivity just goes through the roof, and we like solve it. But like,
Or we monetize the debt and our little precious coins just go up.
yeah, because all the fiat currencies turn into toilet paper, and then all the real assets become incredibly valuable.
I don't know why I just thought of this,
I mean,
but
there are studies being done on like productivity gains already.
They're
in
probably huge. With
in
AI.
the-
They are huge.
is it the census? I had to fill out a census for our company,
How'd
and
you
one
do
of the
that?
questions. No, I've gotten like 7 warnings, but one of the questions is your company using AI in your business, or have you used AI in the last 2 weeks in your business? And I was weird that the census.
So I didn't even know there was a company census.
Yeah,
Like companies receive.
yeah,
one?
you're out of compliance, sir.
Yeah. What? Oops.
They've been knocking on your door for a long time.
That's probably because I
Yeah.
hide my anyway. No address.
They just ask like, how many employees do you have? What's your revenue? And some weird questions.
I don't ever remember filling out a company census.
They send these like very threatening letters with no penalty.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're fine.
Wrong address.
Yeah. Okay.
That's interesting.
I think that's good. Let's
Yeah.
you want to talk about this deal?
Yeah.
This real estate deal?
Yeah. What'd you see come through your inbox there?
Yeah, so this was a
Urbani
deal.
Enterprise Desk. What do
Yeah.
we got here?
It was a new general partner issued a deal. It's like a 275 door apartment complex in Dallas.
Sorry, new to you or new? Just brand new.
New to me. I forget where it came through actually. Maybe I had. I don't know. I've subscribed to so many of these guys, so the deals just come in, and I just look at them as they come in, and looked relative to the ones that I've seen come through. It
Have you
looked
thought
okay.
about developing an AI model that has your like 27 factors for a good deal, and then just spitballing
Hold
here.
on, this is a whole new
But
business.
just imagine like a mailbox money website that brings in all the deal flow from all the newsletters, runs it through this like very simple framework of yours, automated, and then spits out a score. Spits out a score, and it's like, is this Urbani approved or not?
I don't know. The fun part is going through it.
Nah, come on, you have to automate
You
that.
just eliminated him.
The algo is no longer. Just
But
saying,
if one fucking little comma is wrong in that little model,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no
Well,
good.
All right. Just play with it. Just saying.
I like it. All right.
All right.
A seed planted, sir.
Okay.
Heard and recognized, chef.
All right.
So anyway, I just kind of want to go through not the actual deal itself, but things I liked about it and things I didn't like about it, and we can chat about it for a little bit.
Yeah. So where do you want to start? Where is this place?
It's in Dallas. But
Okay.
the first place you always start is the general partner itself, because like as a limited partner, all your due diligence is done up front, and once you put in the money, I mean, it's not like they're going to take your suggestions on how to make the apartment, have a higher net operating income. Like you're done, and whatever fate is at that point from the limited partner standpoint. So you always start with the general partner. So then 45 deals, 11 have sold. Their younger track record though, like they haven't seen a full business cycle yet. So
Okay.
thumbs down emoji.
So that's giving you pause.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of guys out there who have been doing it for 30 years. So why mess with these guys who haven't really seen some real tough times? So they've never done a capital call though, and that was all over the deck.
Well, that's big.
Yeah, it is.
But they've had nothing but like feast times.
Exactly. Like their prime returns are 2021.
Yeah.
In-house property management, good, because if you're doing the property management yourself, you know what rents will be like. You're probably underwriting a little more accurately than like pitching it to your outsourced, property management company who probably
Okay.
just wants the deal.
So it's has nothing to do with fees on that one. You just like that you get better data, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. They're going to underwrite it a little more accurately, I think. Majority of the properties have been 1031'd, so you have a potential opportunity to just roll in tax-free into the
Which
next
we
deal.
love.
We love those. Majority of the sold properties beat out projections. That's a good sign. Their fees were a little above average. I think they took like a 30% fee over the preference, so you get 7% return per year. Anything excess of that is 30%. And then when they hit, I think is like a 2x. If on the deal they hit a 2x multiple on your money, they get 50% over that.
When the typical is what?
It's like the guys I've invested with mostly, it's just 80-20.
The
Like
whole
you
way
keep
through?
80, they keep 20. You get 100% up until 7%, and after that they get 20% rip.
Damn.
So with these other guys, you're getting 80% the whole way through, and these guys have like a ladder where they're taking more as they make more.
Yeah, they're getting cute with it. You
That's
know,
a little cute.
That's almost like for that reason I'm out.
Is that a yellow flag?
Well, like, you know, if you're doing like 10, 20, 30
that
of these
greedy?
over a lifetime, you know, your average is going to get kicked up by these home runs, these grand slams. And that kind of tiered fee structure just kind of really makes sure you can never have a home run, right? Like you just have
Correct.
like, you maybe have a triple.
The whole point is, well, not to say the whole point is the home run. This isn't angel investing. This is about passive income. But
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
outsized returns from one investment are nice to have.
And I
You
asked,
don't get to have that.
I asked
with
MG who does the 80-20, and I said, why don't, you know, all these guys have these like tiered structures. He's like, we're in it for I'm doing this for the rest of my life. So like if I knock it out of the park, the next business plan I send them, they're just going to just give me the money to do the next deal. I'll have like an investor for life. And I've done one deal full cycle and it was a 42% annual return. And I'm like, yeah, I really
MG's,
appreciate that.
Platinum tier.
Yeah, very much so. Have a little above average leverage on each deal. And generally, floating rate debt with the interest rate cap. I don't like floating rate debt.
So can you tell me what that means? Because I understand the floating rate debt component.
Yeah, so let's say the interest rate's gonna float based upon where SOFR Fed funds rate is, but they're gonna pay an upfront amount of money to the lender and say you're gonna cap our interest rate at say 5%. But that cap usually only lasts a certain amount of time. And then it goes back to free floating where they have to refinance.
And then it'll just erode your rate because they'll probably buy a new cap.
Yeah, and if interest rates have gone up since then,
Yeah.
that cap rate purchase is going to be fucking expensive.
Yeah, it's going to cut into your returns.
Yeah, and that's happened several times on deals a few deals I've done where they've had floating rate, and I kind of learned my lesson there. Okay, so that's on the GP. Deal notes. They're purchasing from a forced seller. The seller's just screwed.
Good.
Yeah. So that's good. It's a value-add business plan. So they're going to, you know, redo the countertops, change the appliances,
You love
know,
those.
add a dog park, all good. They own 3 properties in the area, like within, I don't know, I think like a 20-mile radius. So they know what the rent should be because they're already renting out at those same prices. And they got the property management team in place. So they got the plumber there. They got the construction guy there. To have them hop over 15 miles, economies of scale, so that, you know, you're hoping that the remodel of everything, it's not going to go out of hand because they kind of have the people there already. Lower leverage, 56% LTV. It's good, right? Okay, here's the deal. 3-year floating rate with a 4.75 rate cap purchase. I like the 4.75%. I don't like, just after we have our little higher for longer talk, 3 years.
That's not enough coverage.
No.
I don't think.
And these guys have been selling before 3 years, but that was during a time of
Feast.
2021.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're realizing that, like, if you have to hold this thing for 7 years, and if rates are higher or even just the same, like when you have to pay for that interest rate cap, you're going to get scalped, and that could kill the deal. Like that
This
could.
feels like the key
I think so too.
of all the points.
The GPs are only investing.
I think I'm out.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Eric's out. You're out.
I think that the previous one, I was still
You still were
I was
teetering.
sitting. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think I'm out on that one.
I'm still in for now.
Really?
Yeah.
Urbani Enterprises is still in.
GPs are investing
See,
250.
this is why we need an algo. Like a real. I need a score.
He's getting emotional.
I'm tilting. It's probably the ranch water. They're only investing 250K to 500K themselves. That's not enough.
Come on.
That's personal money.
no skin in the game.
Yeah, like,
Come on.
money.
What you want to
That's
see is
not-
like 10%.
That's
If
not.
you're raising 20, 30 million, 2 to 3 million bucks.
Gosh darn tootin', man.
That being said, like if they're doing 7 deals a year, you know, have that kind of cash laying around is probably pretty tough. But still, I think you'd like to see a little more skin in the game because their whole game is like they're gonna take a rip off the deal. 4.2% starting cash on cash. I think it averaged out around 6.5%. 20% projected annual returns, though. So that's good. Okay, here's my favorite part. Local economics, Dallas. Population growth, one of the highest in the country.
That's true.
Job growth,
Read
one of the
that.
highest in the country. Income growth, good. And diversified economy. So if one part of the economy just takes a shit, let's say it's, I don't know, oil and gas, still good. So those are the three things that drive fucking like rent growth, which is what you really care about.
So I like Dallas, but can I ask you about that figure you just mentioned? Did you say like 20% annual returns?
Yeah.
Like where do you get that from when you have like a 7% pref, and like where's the remainder coming
Yeah,
from?
so let's say you're going to average 5%, 6% cash on cash. So you're still owed 1% per year. You're not really going to capture that until they sell the property. And they're thinking that they're going to sell the property because net operating income has gone up. They're not necessarily distributing it to you yet.
So that's the value add.
That's the value add part.
Okay.
And here's the last bullet point of this deal, which might bring you back. None of the units have been remodeled, and they're still underpriced to current market rents.
Ooh.
So you can still get a premium. You don't fucking touch the apartments. You just raise the
buried
price.
the lead, bro.
I
I'm
am
back
back.
in.
I am back.
I'm back in.
All right. So I would say in this case, if you're underallocated to the asset class, it's a good one to start off with. Their minimum is $50K. Usually
It's a low minimum, right?
Yeah, my usual piece is $100K. I'd probably just do the minimum just because I don't know these guys. I don't know how they report. Who knows how they are. And just sit on it for a few years and watch them. Like if this investment strategy is for the rest of your life, so no rush and like shoving a bunch of money in with some new business partners for life, right?
Right.
So watch it, see how their underwriting did, how they report when interest rates are still high. Do they foresee that? Do they plan for it? Yeah. So anyway, that was the deal. I kind of like it. There was some comments in the Discord. Joa Katima, him and I have been best buds in the Mailbox
love
Money
that guy.
Yeah,
channel.
He's good.
And he said he's conflicted on this one. He thinks the GP looks legit, but he thinks that those fees are kind of a little too rough, and he thinks that the market will force them to kind of come back in line with those fees in a year or two.
Which
Like-
would be fine, though, right?
Yeah.
Like
Maybe
they can adjust their fees.
they'll notice they're going to have a not as easy time raising
Like
money.
I would have preferred that they adjusted the fees prior for this deal, knowing that forward-looking things are not the same.
Right.
It's not feast anymore. I would have preferred that too, but to his point, that doesn't mean that it necessarily creates a bad deal long term, does it? Like
Not
if they
necessarily,
adjust, if they had the awareness to adjust later, is
Well,
that
if they
okay?
can raise the funds with this structure, of course they're going to do it. You know. So
Yeah. My personal stance has always been, I don't care what the fees are. Just show me what you're going to do net to me, which is what they're supposed to do in the business plan.
So I have a question for you, like with rates, right? So these guys are dealing like, Arman mentioned that the rates were a big deal. So like what I'm seeing is like you have a Fed funds rate, a SOFR rate, right? But then you have like a mortgage rate that is like independent of that. So like, are these guys more worried about the mortgage rate or just like the Fed funds? And like, is there a chance if we go higher for longer on Fed funds that we talked about,
Yeah.
that mortgage rates can still come down and they are okay, or are they?
Well, so even beyond let's call it the mortgage rate, there's even a special rate. It's a federal loan rate, Freddie and Fannie rate. If you're a known multifamily operator with a consistent track record, you can go get preferential loans that are typically slightly below market from these like government institutions. So when you're interviewing the GP, you want to be like, who are you sourcing from? And if they're sourcing from regional banks, you probably know they're not getting the best deal. And then like if capital does constrict,
So Freddie and Fannie are offering rates that are closely tied to the mortgage rate or the
Yeah.
Fed funds.
No, SOFR.
Okay, so SOFR.
Yeah.
Okay, and SOFR is like basically.
And by the
Fed
way,
funds.
I'm wading into the deep end of my knowledge in this because like I'm not the GP having conversations. This is just from me understanding my conversations with general partners.
Okay, yeah, but I kind of feel like this probably matters, and I don't know because I've never really done one of these, but
Yeah.
I feel like I don't really even understand how those two rates move independent of each other, but they do.
Yeah, they do, but I think it has to do with like the track record of the GP and what they can secure the rate at, and also in a time of emergency, like can they raise the money? And some of these newer guys may not be,
Okay.
especially if they're just going off regional banking relationships. Like, but if they have a deal with like a federal institution, and may be helpful. I don't know, but also hasn't. It's been a long time since we've had like a real credit crunch.
Yeah.
You know, like it's happening now for these guys.
This is probably who this distressed seller is, probably.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason this
Right.
deal is available. So, yeah, I think fixed rate is good, but keep in mind there's a downside to it. When you go to sell, like let's say you've scaled the property up, you can't necessarily refinance and sell because that lender's offered you a fixed rate and they need to lock in their profit. You know, they've took some risk themselves by offering fixed rates, so these properties you're probably going to hold for a long time. Where them with that floating rate, they can refinance it and sell it any time. So they could sell it in 18 months if they execute this business plan well. Within 18 months, and the rents really are well below market, they could piece out before 3 years, and you get a pretty phenomenal.
And if
return.
like hard assets become extremely valuable in this fourth turning conversation, then like you're going to be great either
Yeah.
way.
Before we move on,
Yes, sir.
So like mailbox money, like come on.
Are you
like,
going to go
can
to
we-
more seed planting?
Can we just no? Like I'm not satisfied.
Okay.
Look, like you're looking at all these deals. Like I'm fine. Like I loved this conversation and all that stuff. But like what I really care about is if I wanted to get involved, I don't have the time to review these deals. I don't care if you want to review these deals for us or if you want an AI to do it.
No.
But you could have both. You could have a co-pilot do it. But what I would like is I understand you have this thread. So for people that don't know, again, like you have a channel essentially in the Discord where you're sharing these deals. But I think this could be a thing. Like I think you should have a thing where you're doing a lot of work already. You're sourcing a lot of deals. It's coming through your funnel. You are evaluating them based on these principles. Whether you do it or you have some automated component to evaluate the deal, I would like access more directly to this to be able to look at that and go like, okay, here's Nick's checklist of these 27 items.
I'm with
Are
you.
you with me?
I'm with you because I basically just want you to give the green light to one.
Please.
Where we're just like, okay, cool.
Green, yellow, red.
All right.
97.3 score on the algo, and even just call it like mailbox money and then the algo score.
Should I be
And the
Benjamin
algo-
Cohen with like a chart?
Yes,
But
please.
just for the
Yes.
yeah, no.
And like just like a version of that for this would be huge for me. And I don't think I'm alone. So like chat and listeners and viewers, like please tell me if you want this because I
a
want this.
Cool thing would be, first of all, this would be
Not
a
forcing you to start another business.
fun-
Don't worry.
semi-retirement project. But
Yeah.
what I would personally want, selfishly, and what I don't think necessarily exists, is like a community where people dump all their deals in. Right? Like there's
Right, because the top of the funnel is important. Right?
yeah. More deals
So the
you look
more
at, the
people
more
that
reps
are
you get.
involved,
Yeah.
like I can help with that.
Yeah.
I can't do the part that like
And then
I can
where
help with the flow.
some structure would be good is like this GP, we analyzed it. It'd be nice if it was in a database where like the score, like all the things we talked about them are just there, and then you could go look at GPs like I don't like multifamily, but I like industrial, and maybe there's enough industrial GPs there that do these and offer LPs, and so it's maybe something like that. But I think the power is not in like an AI model. I think it's literally in the group, people who are interested in doing these deals, who paired with people who have done these deals. Drop it in. Here's my notes. You share your notes. I've done a deal with them before. I'll just share you the stats
Okay.
from the last one. Like that's more powerful than
Fine.
And
than
I
like
like
some
expanding
automated
the breadth too,
But
because
I want to pay for
because you like these value add multifamilies, but there's like maybe somebody else like Joe Akatima who might have expertise in storage or something, and you get
there's
the
a lot
mind
of
share.
asset classes. There's a whole groups around hotels. They take over hotels. They revamp them. There's self-storage. There's commercial. There's retail, like triple net leases or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. We'll play with it
I'm
over
just
time.
saying. I think the chat likes it too, bro.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Eric didn't listen to the last episode, but I told him about my 14-1 Newsom bet, and I just want to insert a little data point.
Oh, how's it going?
You want to celebrate your victory lap already?
No, not yet. Not yet. I'm just adding another data
I
point
need an
to
update
the risk
I
reward.
don't know anything outside of my world right now.
We'll give the news update.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom is going to be debating Republican presidential candidate Ron DeSantis November 30th. Why would he do that? Why would he do that?
Wait, what? This is happening?
What are the live odds on Bovada now?
Yeah, what are they now?
They're still 10-1 for him to win the presidency, and 5-1 for him to become the Democrat.
Big data point.
Yeah, I mean they've been kind of beefing a little bit, and
There is no reason for them to be debating.
And-
now, if it was him versus Trump, I'd be like, take my money.
yeah.
Immediately.
But like obviously he talked to Biden's crew about this, like, hey, I'm gonna debate a Republican presidential candidate, and they had to have given the blessing, right? This isn't like him going rogue. This is part of a plan-ish, maybe.
So let me ask you this. Oftentimes on Bovada, like in the middle of your bet, in the middle of the wager, you have the opportunity to cash out. If
Like a buyout?
Yeah, you have like a buyout option.
That's a good point.
If the bet has like moved in your favor.
Yeah, I think I would take the buyout because I actually don't think he'll become president, but I think
But the odds have moved favorably.
10-1, 14-1, pretty decent.
Wait,
yeah.
you don't think because you think Trump would beat him?
No, I just don't. I think the break even we calculated last time was like 15 or 20%.
Yeah.
If you think he's become the Democratic nominee, so I think it's that, but it's not 80%, right?
Okay.
Like Biden is
Yeah.
probably going to be it. So,
Okay.
yeah, I would take the buyout, cash to win.
Yeah, it's still a long shot, but you can get a little bit of money now.
So you still think it's even with this indicator, you're not convinced that like Biden will stand down?
I would like him to.
No, I know, but like it's still not enough of a data point for
It's
you.
not like
that
over 50%.
This isn't telling you. Did it go up for you though? Did anything change?
I mean, it's kind of in line with what I was thinking because, like I said, if you look at his Twitter timeline, looks like a guy running for president, not being the governor of
Right.
California. So
Interesting.
in this national televised debate on Fox News, he's going into their den to debate, like over Thanksgiving weekend, I think. Why? Weird.
Yeah, only one reason, really.
Yeah,
I mean, Trump did that with CNN, right? And it worked out for him.
it did.
Let's see how it goes for
He's
him.
probably talking right now. Republican debates going on right now. Snooze fest.
Maybe that's the Trump playbook. Go to the other side and win it over.
Can I bring up something not on the agenda?
Sure.
I saw
a
something
wild
funny
card?
in the Wall Street Journal. So I saw this. If you haven't seen, the FTC is suing Amazon.
Saw that this morning.
So I'm on the Wall Street Journal website, and I see one headline: FTC sues Amazon alleging illegal online marketplace monopoly. Talks about Lena Khan, head of the FTC. The next article down, there's another headline: the hedge fund that made a killing betting against Lena Khan. And I read the article, and this hedge fund is literally just betting against all of her like enforcement actions, all of the mergers she's trying to stop happen, and it looks like she's the alpha leak. Like she is like over on these big things she's going after.
By betting against, what, they're just longing the stocks that...
So when an acquisition's announced, FTC says, "Hey, we're gonna like try to not make this happen." Stock goes down, you just scooping up, and every little news hit scoops up more, and then the market just realizes
She's a mush.
she's a mush.
She's a mush. Bet against.
So I don't know. Maybe Amazon it dipped on the news. Maybe it'll keep dipping as this like.
Well, wait a second. Speaking of Amazon, you saw the other news, right?
What was that?
Amazon just invested $4 billion in Anthropic.
Oh yeah. Can you remind people what Anthropic is? It's a big AI company. That's all I know.
Yeah, like an LLM,
Okay.
just like OpenAI. Different idea behind their thesis. It's all about focus on safety, and it has a larger context window So it has more. A simple way to explain that it remembers things better for longer. It also allows you to upload more text when you want to talk to it.
Oh,
So like one of the problems you might run into with ChatGPT is like if you wanted to upload a document, you can't upload a very long document. Like if you have a 40-page legal document, you can't do that with ChatGPT because the context window is smaller. With Claude, which is the ChatGPT of Anthropic, you can. It has a huge context window. So now what has essentially happened is that Amazon is a player. Like Amazon, AWS, like huge number one cloud, right?
Yeah.
Like the winner there, but was not like directly and like has had also partnered and I believe like invested to a certain degree in certain ways monetarily with NVIDIA as well. And NVIDIA and Amazon have a good relationship. But when it comes to the AI play, no real footprint. This essentially is exactly what Microsoft did with OpenAI. Unclear what percentage Amazon now owns of Anthropic, but I don't think it's 50% or 49% the way it is with Microsoft. But this is huge, guys.
So
like,
in
this
your-
is a big deal.
In your estimation, like what does that mean for Amazon and AI? Because like, how would they use it? They would use it to have like a chat bot that allows you to do like customer returns, or like are they going to use it to sort of like help guide, you know, like the feed in which you see things? Like how would you imagine that they integrate
good
AI?
question. It's not so much about how Amazon itself uses it. It's about what it does for the space and for builders and how they'll be using it. Because like when a lot of people think about OpenAI, they think ChatGPT. It's like synonymous, right? But
Yeah.
really, ChatGPT is not like how OpenAI is going to create a footprint in AI. It's developers building on top of GPT-4, GPT 4.5 or 5 that comes next, and the wrappers that people can build around the chatbot itself of ChatGPT. So
That's interesting.
you're
I
going to
hadn't
find
thought of
similar
that.
things like Amazon is becoming now a player where Anthropic was a model that you can build on top of. Like the same way that you can build on top of OpenAI models, right? So Claude is great. Like, was it as good as ChatGPT? No, it was not. But that depends on the use case. That depends on it depends on the builder. It depends on the company and what they want to attempt to do. This just provides them so much money to create a better model. They can continue to invest in their thesis. What you're ultimately going to have is different models with different personalities, different ethos, different things and theses that they believe in. And you now have these players that are like Amazon is now a real player. So you have OpenAI, closed, ironic, right?
yeah.
You have Amazon with Claude. You have Meta, open, with Llama. You have Google, closed. And who am I missing? You have Microsoft with OpenAI. You have, so you have these open models. You have these closed models. I'm missing, I'm sure, some as well. And we're going to see how this plays out. And it's going to be very interesting.
Well, I guess let me ask about the monetization. Like, is it kind of like iOS or like a app store where like you can allow builders to come on and like design a new app, but then you take a rake on everything?
You take a rake on the API fees.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
You charge them for every request or,
Right.
whatever it is, and
because that could be massive.
scale massively, right?
Yeah. I mean, like all of AI, the question that a lot of people are asking in AI from a investor standpoint is who's gonna be the winner? Who's gonna
Totally.
accrue the value, right?
Totally.
There's a really good paper I highly recommend to people that are interested in this question to read by A16Z. And there is no definitive answer. It is unclear if it's going to be the infrastructure layer, the foundation. This is what we call the foundation model layer.
Yeah.
These are foundation models. But the infrastructure layer is currently NVIDIA. Will that continue to be the case? Will new startups come in that have better GPUs? Because a lot of what's necessary is not training models. I think we've already invested a a lot of money. Like there are people that are fudding. I wouldn't go as far as say fudding actually, but are saying like how much more value can NVIDIA really accrue here? Because
Yeah.
the main purpose of their GPUs is to help train models. But a lot of what most startups are going to be doing going forward, and I won't continue too long on this,
No, we can keep going.
is inference, just generative AI stuff. Like help me build a software company, like you were just saying, like the apps.
Yeah.
The apps are going to be a competitor in terms of like maybe they'll accrue a lot of the value.
It kind of reminds me of like Ethereum. Like you have like layer 1 and layer 2s that are built on top, which is like the app layer. Like in this example, like the layer 2 would be like the app layer built on
right.
top of the layer 1.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I can see where sort of value would accrue in this AI.
You know, the thing I find fascinating about this deal is like what a no-brainer for Amazon, right? So part of the deal, and I don't know, this is where I get confused. So it's $4 billion. I heard it was $1.5 billion to start, but part of the deal is Anthropic uses all of AWS services. They are
Right.
now the primary vendor for them. So are they putting $1.5 billion in cash,
and then-
are they going to get $1.5 billion
Well,
back in revenue,
sounds like
or is
it.
it credit? Like
I thought the same thing when Microsoft did it with OpenAI.
you get the
Yeah.
enterprise value play, like just by being part of the AI space, you see a pop in the stock, probably worth more than the investment you made. You're going to get that revenue back
because they're going
and-
to use the web services or
Totally.
the data center.
And I heard something about they're going to use Amazon chips to have the model learn. And that was the first mention. I didn't know if they actually had chips. I don't know if it was like the Bloomberg guy going off script and then that was real or not. But have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, no, I haven't done a deep dive on it at all. I literally, it was like one podcast I think yesterday. But I know they're investing in that area, and I
Yeah.
know that generally the chip and GPU space. I mean, there's so much money flooding into the industry. There's so many promising startups that are doing really interesting things. In particular, building, like making it so that like Intel made an announcement of like a computer that can run, with their CPU right there on the computer, run inference locally. Like a lot of really interesting things that can happen that don't require like to get in line for an NVIDIA GPU. So I think as the space evolves, as there are more players, yeah, I think NVIDIA will continue to accumulate a lot of the value, but I also think it will continue to, it will begin to like spread out to these other
totally.
players. And then, I don't know, like I think personally, I'm betting a lot on the application layer. I think the infrastructure layer makes a ton of sense, like no question. But the applications are where things get really exciting. Who knows what Steve Jobs type figure out there is going to come up with something that isn't so like could be consumer, could be B2B, but that could totally change the whole fucking world.
Totally agree with you.
And
Well,
like
how many
the
of-
next Apple can be built on top of this infrastructure.
How many of what percentage of your cohort of Techstars are AI based startups?
Good question. I would say like 4 or 5 of the 12.
No way.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it could be. And yeah, 4 or 5.
Yeah,
And every company is going to integrate AI, if they haven't already, to a
course.
certain degree. But like that has it at the core, yeah, 4, I think. Yeah.
Any Techstars updates? So then in the first episode of Arman's Techstars journey, we learned about mentor madness.
Yeah.
That sounded fucking insane.
Still in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's 2 weeks long of Mentor Madness. I'm
Fuck.
still in it. I'm 2/3 of the way through now. Yeah, it's a lot. It's great. I've been meeting unbelievable people. That whole thing still continues. And yeah, in terms of updates, it's just, I think I'm getting exactly what I wanted. It's like the immersion, full immersion experience of being full throttle all the way, like deep into this is the only thing you think about. You're surrounded by people that are just there to help you solve whatever challenge is directly in front of you. So if you are there that day and you're like, this is the thing today, I'm having a product market fit issue, I'm having a ICP issue, who's my initial customer profile, I'm having a legal issue, help me find an attorney who can answer this question. It's there. Whatever you want is there. I had a question today and like I got connected to, just as an example, like I wanted to ask a technical intellectual property question. And I just had a meeting earlier today with like the most prolific attorney at the top of the generative AI IP space at Cooley. Like the person who is traveling the country for Cooley, which if you don't know Cooley, it's like the firm for the tech world. Like it was supposed to be a 10-minute call, became 40 minutes, you know, just because he was like
Faux free?
Faux free.
Wow.
Faux free.
Damn.
Like just like would love to help
Probably
you.
$2,000
You know,
worth of value right
yeah,
there.
right there. And it was like jaw-dropping level of knowledge, you know? So whatever you need, it's just like given to you. So yeah, I it's been a very positive experience so far.
Fuck yeah.
So-
What's next after Mentor Madness? Do you know yet?
Yeah, so next week I'm going to a conference. I will not be here. Or we're doing an episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will not be here. I'll be in San Francisco. And then I'll be meeting you guys in San Francisco for the interview with Zach.
Yep.
Actually, that'll be our episode, right?
No, we'll do one
one
live and
Okay,
then
cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be there for. It's actually the Techstars annual conference called FounderCon in San Francisco. So that'll be my week next week. Is
Wow.
more people, more
That
meetings.
sounds awesome.
You're gonna be gripping and grinning the whole fucking
Yeah.
time.
Just never heard that
Hand
phrase.
out, smiling.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
that. I'm
That'll be
excited
great.
for you.
That'll be great.
Can't believe you're going back to Gotham.
I know. First time.
Eric's excited to go back. He's like, I might stay a night.
I'm gonna spend the weekend.
No, you're crazy.
Yeah,
No, you're crazy.
I'm gonna do it.
No, you should not stay the night.
I'm going
There
in the
is
morning,
no
out at
Batman.
night.
No one's gonna save you.
I'm Batman.
I hope Jordan makes it alive to our meeting. He's gonna be there the week before. I hope he just survives
oh
Gotham.
my god.
All right, should we dim the lights a little bit and go to the meeting topics?
talk meaning.
Yeah.
I'd like that.
All right, set it up for us. You want to go?
Which one do you want to do first? You want to do Die with Zero?
No, I want to do history first because that one's gonna be easy to get out of the way.
You think?
Smack your argument down and then move on.
Okay.
Oh, you're on my team.
I
Well,
think so.
I have questions first.
So,
All right.
so I think both topics are related to my travels, but I think the history being overrated component of it is like I hadn't traveled with my folks in 20 years or something, so I was just reminded very clearly that like parents or whatever, like at least my parents are like so singular with their like travel style, where it's like, okay, we go to Turkey, and when you go to Turkey, like here's what Lonely Planet says you should do. You
Hagia
should-
Sophia.
Yeah, you got to go to the Hagia Sophia. You got to go here, and like all of these things are just like ancient sites to see. Okay, and when you go to these ancient sites, you like line up, and there's a fuckload of people there, and you just like walk through, and you listen to fucking audio, and like when I like took a step back and looked at this, I was like, why do we care so much always about stuff that is just ancient, regardless of their significance to history? It's just like I think people like things because they're old is like what my takeaway was. And I'm like, that's not as cool as you think it is. So that's my take. I think like there are some things that do have like actual significance, and there are things that are old with very limited significance. Obviously, it was a little bit of like a legit bait because like there are some things in history that are fucking awesome.
Right.
But I think that humans tend to ascribe too much value to things that are old versus like, whereas if they were the versions, of these old like temples or whatever in modern life, it's like, I don't care where like president of this country prayed, but that's like what we all go to see.
And that's part of the tour.
That's like the
You
whole.
slap on the headphones.
Yeah, that's like Lonely Planet says you got to go here because this is where like Julius Caesar bowed his head or some shit. Like, who cares?
like
Question.
Yeah, go questions.
I want. Okay, I understand. I'm gonna put it back to you though. I'm gonna say like I challenge you to answer the question yourself. You said the answer of why people like old shit is just because it's old. But I challenge you to answer the question, why do you think people like history? If you had to really think about what drives it, what do you think it is that people like about history?
Well, I asked my dad.
Okay.
Because we were out there, and I was just thinking about it, and as we're doing it, I'm like, so I know you like this stuff, but I want you to.
What's it doing?
Like,
to him?
yeah, what do you love about it? He said, well, I like to know why we are the way we are. Like what drove us to be this way. And part of my analysis of that response is kind of like, but why don't you like where we are? Like
Now.
yeah, now. Like so you like the sociological element of like what led us to the way we behave now, but why is it not interesting to you to know why we behave now?
Did he say that it's not interesting where he is today?
I just know him to not care.
So you're saying his fascination for history is higher than like the present moment?
Absolutely. And like the present moment, and what I'm trying to say is like there's a culture in Turkey where like
Yes.
people are
You could
doing
go sit at a cafe and
smoke
have an
hookah or
experience.
do whatever they're doing, and he's just like not interested. You know, like he doesn't want to go like dip in the Mediterranean and sip Rocky or whatever they're drinking now and do all this crap, which is like that's the culture. This sociologically, this is what we're doing. No, not interested. I'd rather go see this 1,000-year-old shit that, frankly, to me is like, this is the same thing, just older.
Do you agree, though? I understand your dad's case where you're describing where these two things are not merging, but do you agree that these things can be mutually exclusive? That you can have an appreciation for the present culture of a place or present life and also have an affinity and an appreciation for history?
Yes, of course. And I just think, like, I'm not saying that it's dumb. I just think it's overrated.
It's overrated. Why?
Well, on the one hand, you got...
Because if they're mutually exclusive, you don't have to choose. So what makes it overrated?
I'm just saying that people are choosing because I literally look at them
They'll
lined
go
up.
travel.
Like, I literally see them go travel, and instead of, you know, experiencing the cafe culture that you're talking about, they're all lined up at this palace where a rich guy used to live. And, like, I'm looking at this
In my experience, they're doing both. They're at their resort, they're at their hotel, they're having their breakfast, they're going to the cafes, they're going to the bazaar, and they're going to the historical sites.
All right, I'm actually leaning more towards Eric on this because, like, and it maybe just about travel preference, the way I prefer to travel, because, like, you can understand the culture by talking to the taxi driver and having a great conversation with them, maybe just as much as like seeing what, you know, the 700 years that led up to this point. I'd rather go hang out with like people our age in an area and at the beach and get to know them more than go take a tour and learn historical facts that someone from today wrote and
I'm telling
kind of filtering
you,
it
like,
all.
I think, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, I looked at it from, like, a third-person perspective. I see, like, thousands of people lined up. You know, I'm not saying that, like, it doesn't happen where people do both. But I'm saying
Right.
there's thousands of people lined up to see this ancient thing or this palace where some old rich guy used to live. And it's like, what are we doing here? Like, this is a kind of
I
like
mean,
a waste. Like,
I've
this is
been-
what you're choosing to do with your vacation?
I will say, like, if it's a place
I don't
like,
like this.
I think the first time you go somewhere, I think Eric Stroud's right. But I think if you're going to go another time, it is nice to, like,
We got to parse this out a little
Dive a
more,
little
guys.
deeper,
We
like-
got to parse. I like this topic, okay? But we got to parse this out a little more because I think what you're driving at, Eric, there are some deep truths to the things that you're saying. First of all, you're talking about the way people travel. Like picking up a guidebook and just being like, these are the things I have to visit, and having this like very unconscious way of traveling and just showing up and getting in the lines. Yeah, totally agreed. Nonsense.
I
But
went to
in
Rome.
that line
Yeah.
of 1,000 people, there are some of them that are just like on autopilot, and they're there for that thing because they are like, I'm in Istanbul, I'm in Paris, I'm supposed to do these things. But you know who else is in that line? Very sort of like, first of all, I think of myself as like a romantic, right?
he's saying there's Armans in that line.
There's Armands in that line. And of those Armands, here's why we're there. You know, first of all, I couldn't agree more with your statement, Nick, that like talking to a taxi driver might be the best way to understand a culture compared to every other way. You could you could read every history book, every audio book at every museum, tour guide. Nothing is going to be better than like the right rando person that you meet, the Babalu,
Yeah.
you know, in Tanzania,
Yeah.
the guy I met in Istanbul that like won't stop texting me still, like still, you know, and wasn't even an official tour guide, but showed us around and was like, welcome to my country, and just became a friend. Like, couldn't agree more. But why do people like historical sites? I think I'm with your dad on this, and I'm sure there's a deeper thing there. I believe the reason people like this stuff, or at least people like me like this stuff, is like, look, there is so much about being a human being that is done, that occurs inside of us thematically, almost like in an archetypical way, unconsciously. Like we are our culture of humans so much more than we realize. The things we do, the way we talk, the way we connect, the way we shake hands, the way we don't shake hands, we bow, we don't bow. This is all rooted in history, and it's a very deep, complex thing. And so I feel like people like to go to these sites where Julius Caesar touched his forehead to the ground because it's like, it's a way of teleporting. It's a way of transporting themselves to that time to understand their ancestry, their lineage, the lineage of people that they were in war against, like the lineage of people that they studied, like that they just only read about in books. It's like, oh my God, I'm walking on holy ground. You know, Greek and Persian soldiers walked through this valley and fucking killed each other for what? Why? And now we're here and there's a fucking McDonald's. And it's like, why is there a McDonald's here? And what was happening here? And I think people love that feeling. I love that feeling to know that I'm in a place where things like that, because I can just close my eyes and go back, and like I want to go back. I am Gil Pender. Like I am the Midnight in Paris guy who wants to go back, who
Nostalgia
has the
junkie.
golden age syndrome, man, golden age theory. It's like maybe things were better, maybe things weren't better, but I at least want a taste of those things to see, is there something to learn? Is there something to bring back to the future, to the present? I mean, so like I think both can be true. I think that there's a lot of beauty in history. I would fight for history. It's a hill I would die on.
And I'm not saying that it's not valid. I'm just saying it's overrated because all these books and all these
I think it's underrated.
all these
I
travel
think
guides
most-
and everything only talk about those things. And they don't talk like I guess there's no real way to describe how to get into a conversation
But
with your
what's
cab
funny
driver
to me
or something.
is I think it's underrated because I think that there's not enough people that care about this stuff. It's
Oh,
actually a lot of the wrong people in line. I think if you could get more everyday people excited about the things that I'm talking about, it's actually underrated. If I could create like a VR experience for people to understand like how much can be gained from history, for that reason I would bet on it being underrated.
Arman, how often do you think about the Roman Empire?
Dude, I'm having like a weird moment because like Erica yesterday asked me that question.
oh, it's going viral on social media. That's why.
Oh,
Mina asked me yesterday too.
I haven't been
fuck
asked
her.
yet.
I asked her why she asked me, and she's like, no reason.
No, it's
So I don't know.
I got
I feel
conned.
like Jordan might know more about this
I was
than we
like,
do. But
okay, I was like, this is weird. Why is someone asking
when
me
Mina
this?
asked me yesterday, I was like, I know what you're doing, and I just don't have the energy to even
No,
respond.
I was like, I think you're doing something, but I don't know what you're doing. The answer is not often, but actually more than most people.
well, according to social media, like dudes are doing it, like thinking about the Roman Empire all the time.
Oh, really? yeah, I,
mean-
think more than most people.
yeah, they don't
Oh,
understand
really?
why. But like, you could kind of like compare the Roman Empire to like what's kind of going on now. Like, we're
Yeah.
a country that it's maybe overreached a little too much imperialism.
You mean women don't think about the fourth turning?
Not so much, maybe.
Not according to Jordan. Wasn't
Yeah.
my comment.
So what was your answer, Eric?
To how much I think of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Like probably more than I even acknowledge. Like I think about it a lot. I mean, I'm not a guy who doesn't like history. I love history. I'm just thinking that it's overrated.
I thought about the Roman Empire while we were having our talks at Permissionless. I feel like there was like fundamental civilization talks happening, and I was like, I feel like this is like a Roman Empire discussion, maybe like repeated. But I back to Armand's comment, like I think as an American, I do value it a little bit more because our country has a history of like 250 years, and so when you get a chance to like sit in a country who's got history of thousands of years, it's kind of fascinating to be like, so what happens before you sign the Declaration of Independence?
Right. Like we're so young in the
well,
US. Like we don't even have history.
where are we going?
Yeah.
I can't believe you guys don't care about history.
We're not saying. Okay,
No,
God damn it, I'm taking Eric's side
I'm
now.
blown away with you.
No, history is really cool.
Yeah, really cool, man. Except it's overrated.
Well, I think there's elements of history that are awesome in that you can like take lessons
Look,
from history.
I remember high school. History was very unpopular. It was not a popular subject. It was my favorite subject, but
Okay, on hikes, I found myself listening to Hardcore History, which is a podcast.
I listen to hard. I like history.
Yeah.
Like I think that history is best used as like a guide for modern life. Like you want to live in the present for the most part. Like you want to live in the present and take the lessons from history to the extent that you can. But a lot of history, like you go look at
there
know,
you go.
some
We haven't
ancient
even
ruin.
touched on that.
But you go look at some ancient ruin and you're like, okay. Like,
Yeah, like-
for the most part, it's like, okay.
Yeah, but that ancient the cause of it. There's another. That's a huge other thread we could pull on. The mistakes that have been made in history are necessary to learn from. We need to preserve them. We need to study them. Like I walked over people's pieces of their skulls, not to get morbid, in Cambodia, to know that Pol Pot mutilated children. And you were literally walking on ground where children were like, I'm sorry, again, I'm just being real. This is history. Thrown against trees and beaten to death. And you're walking on that land. That wakes you up. And you think to yourself, like, this will never happen again. No, this will never happen again. But you know why it won't happen again? Because human beings in the present create awareness that that was wrong, that authoritarian governments, that this type of thinking led to, like, what kind of thinking leads to this type of fascist or authoritarian or what's the word I'm looking
Authoritarian?
for?
Did you say that?
Yeah, I said that one.
Okay.
Or a communist sort of system that leads to the destruction of its own citizens. Like, that's really scary. Like, you study Mao and you're like, oh my God, like, this is real and these things can happen. So I like history from the perspective also of like, don't repeat. Like, does history always repeat itself? It doesn't have to if we value it and study it, because it's very easy. Like what happened in Germany, that is easy to repeat itself. It can very easily repeat itself.
I
Those
agree.
were regular, smart, everyday people. Those were not people that were born genetically defunct and like, oh, they're just born Nazis. No, it happens.
Yeah.
And I think we need to study
So
that. We
I
need
think
to go to
you
those
would agree with
camps
all
and
that,
see
but like I think
Absolutely.
you're also just saying that like the fact that Gaudi's buildings are still not finished, big whoop.
Basically, like, but like I agree with all your points, and I think that like when you look back at the history that actually has like Alpha, you find that the commonality is like human instinct, and human instinct like hasn't changed that much, even if like technology has changed and like culture has changed or whatever. And it's like you can use that to sort of like inform yourself on how things are likely to play out going forward. And I don't know. I love history. I just think it's
So you're
overrated.
just here for the alpha.
You know what would be fun, though, is if we maybe had a segment every once in a while where we did like topic and then just had to say like overrated, underrated. I think that would be fun. And like a quick argument for why.
Hammams.
A what now?
Moms are underrated.
Moms? Underrated.
All right.
Yeah. History? Underrated.
Die with zero.
Rest my case.
Die with Zero
Underrated.
is overrated, but
Oh,
that's a nice transition. Die with Zero is a book that Nick was recommending, and I read the first 40% of it. I think Die with Zero is clickbait. Like the title is clickbait. I don't even think that's what he's talking about.
You're right.
Because
Yeah.
what he's talking about is like how to effectively use your money and your resources in like the most utilitarian way.
Yeah,
for
like
your own life.
I think even though I've read it, I think I still go back to the title, which is like, don't oversave for retirement and like leaves it. But that's not his real message. His real message is like optimizing your spending.
Yes.
And that you should be prioritizing experiences over accumulation of money. that health is more
How is
important
that
than your
not-
wealth.
I'm not following. How is
So-
that not it though?
So there's a conundrum. I think the conundrum is this. It's like when you're old, you don't have the ability to really like use all your resources. Like you got 2 knee replacements and you can't do all the things that you want to do. When you're young, you don't have the money or the time to really do those things either. So how do you like allocate those things in the most useful way where you can get the most experiences over a lifetime?
Yeah.
And like dying with 0, I think is kind of a misnomer because it's talking about spending all your money before you're dead, which I don't think is like necessarily what he's trying to say.
Like, what you're emphasizing too is like he talks about how money's utilization decreases as you get older, right?
Yeah.
And you could still live fully to what his book says and die with $1 million in your bank account. You could. You didn't die with 0, but if you spent your money at the right stages in your life where you emphasize experiences and you didn't necessarily like prioritize saving more, like you in your 20s you can do certain things, in your 30s you can do certain things that you can't do in your 60s and 70s. And so
like on this trip, for instance, we went on the hot air balloon ride, and to get into a hot air balloon, it's a basket and there's no door. So like my mom is 70 plus, she's got 2 fake knees in, and to get into the basket was like a freaking job for like guys to like lift and then secure her on the other side of the basket, like, and this is just the reality of her situation. She's got enough money to do whatever she wants, whenever she wants, but her physical is not what it was, 30 years ago.
Your mom was a grinder, right? Like, I mean, she hustled.
Like, okay, so in this book, he brings up an analogy or like a parable I never even heard of. I don't know if you've heard of it prior to the book, but there was like an ant and a grasshopper. Okay, so the ant is this like fastidious worker who just like gathers food, every day, goes gather food. And the grasshopper is like playing his little song, his little cricket song, and that's like his version of play. Doesn't gather any food, and the winter comes, and the ant survives because he's got all his food stored up, and the grasshopper dies in the harsh winter. So that's like the parable, and this I forget the author's name, but whoever wrote the book, he said that like a lot of, particularly American culture, has like been raised on this idea where you need to like save for later. It's definitely like how I was brought up to think. So he's talking to sort of like me, like talking to like my upbringing that says like always prepare yourself for the future, whereas like there should be a balance, I guess.
Yeah, like there it was like you were probably brought up to like defer enjoyment,
gratification.
Yeah,
always.
But you don't like. Is that like a pushing back against your upbringing a little bit, or?
I just do it in ways that I really find enjoyment. Like I don't like take gratification for like a 3 out of 10. Like I'll literally just I'd rather take a 0 like 80 times than like 3s, and then save for a few
like this
10s.
vacation. You did a 10 out of 10 vacation. You didn't like half-ass work, half enjoy.
Right. And
Okay.
I think like American culture tells you like never be out, always be on your laptop, like take your laptop with you everywhere you go on every vacation, and never take a break.
I hope Baton has Wi-Fi.
I know you do. You little ant.
So were there multiple instances of that on that vacation where you saw your parents and you're like, man,
Yeah. Both parents are still physically capable of sort of like doing things, but like obviously are getting near the end of that wick. And, they have both deferred gratification for their entirety. And I think to like support their position, what they would say is that like utility for them isn't necessary in their lifetime. They want to provide like a legacy, which is like they want to like their like end all be all is to provide an education for all of our family members' kids, and that's like their legacy, which dying with 0 wouldn't allow them to fulfill that legacy. So for them, that is
Is that
utility.
a generational thing? Like, are we just the benefactor of two prior generations? That the fact that we can even write and read this book and be like, yeah, this makes more sense than what our parents and grandparents did. And they're like, we didn't have a fucking choice.
I brought it up at one of our dinners, and it was like my father's response at one point. He was like, easy for you to say after we've, like done all this
Right.
for you. And I'm like,
It's good to have that perspective in this conversation.
I get that take, but I'm also like not talking about us. I'm talking about the idea. And, I think the idea is that you can effectively spend your money in like a way that it is maximally utilized. And, that doesn't mean waiting till you're physically unable to enjoy it.
Did they ever express at any point, they're like, man, I wish I would have jumped in the Mediterranean like
No, because
20 years ago or something?
I don't think they think that way. I don't think they're capable of thinking that way, perhaps.
So there's no dissatisfaction about it.
They say they have no regrets,
Yeah.
which I think is sincere.
Aren't you going somewhere soon? Aren't you going on your trip?
Going to St. George, Utah for
I
a
love
golf
St.
trip.
George.
St. George?
St. George? I don't know. It's more
So
like,
many-
I don't know. Is there a Mormon accent?
No.
Yeah.
Well,
St. George
kind
is
of. It's more of an inflection.
It's all those national parks around there. It's gorgeous.
Yeah,
well,
it
the
is
main
gorgeous.
thing is just don't curse.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Got a lot
Wait,
of
you're
Mormon
going to
jokes
Utah?
queued up in my brain, and I'm going to hold them off. Going for a golf trip.
Okay.
No, but you're really talking about the bigger trip. So,
Your
yeah, we're
Bhutan?
going to Nepal
Nepal.
for a couple days. Quick pop because it's on the way in.
When are you going?
End of October.
Okay.
And then,
Your birthday.
yep, coming up soon. And going to go to Bhutan for 10 days, I think.
Wow.
Happiest place on earth.
Apparently, going to find out. I'll let you know.
Dude, if you don't come back happier,
Fail?
full rug.
Yeah.
Full rug. History's overrated. I'll be fully in for that.
And then on the way out, so there's only a few ways into Bhutan. There's Nepal, Bangkok, Singapore, and a city, I forget which city in, I think New Delhi in India. And so the real, to avoid the logistical nightmares, it's either Kathmandu or Bangkok. So on the way back, we have to go through Bangkok. So we're going to stay a couple nights and just go by the beach after being in cold
Yeah.
upland. Might as well
So
warm
just
up.
2 days Nepal, but most of it in
Yeah.
Bhutan.
Yeah.
And how do they compare?
I think.
I mean, I know they're very different,
Yeah.
but
Well, no, I think they're neighbors. So
Yeah.
like it's probably similar culture. I think.
but what's the drive specifically for Bhutan? For you?
So our buddy Marcus went quite a few years ago, and he just explained a place that I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
Like he was like, "Well, I stayed with a family. They just put a bunch of blankets on the ground. The family's like cow.
There's no way you're doing that.
Yeah, it was outside.
You're not doing
and
that.
they prepared
not
the
doing
bath.
Stop talking like you're
Okay,
going to do
so
that.
I did ask. So we have a.
So the Four Seasons.
Force.
I did find out there isn't a Mon in Bhutan randomly. Anyway, we're not staying there. But I
Okay.
asked the travel agency. I was like, "Yo, I want to stay with the family, like 2-3 nights, maybe. Like,
Yeah.
do it up." And they're like, "Sir, we are a luxury travel agency. We do not do that." I'm like, "Yeah, your whole thing is like you'll customize the trip to
Yeah.
people. So like, do it."
Find me a family.
Yeah. So they did find us one.
Really?
Yeah, we're going to spend the whole day and night with them, but we're not staying at their house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sick.
So we're going to hang out at the farm,
Gonna get a little
have dinner
local
with them,
deal.
hang out, and then
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So
And like back to the kind of topic here, like this for you very much is like it was actually inspired by the book in a sense, where you were like, I should do more adventure
Yeah, 'cause, like-
travel, bring it forward more, like
I think I told
Like
you
kind
guys
of-
in my spreadsheet, my personal balance sheet ends in one line item. It's like the amount you have to invest. It's not how much can you
It's just like excess
spend.
dollars.
Yeah, it's not like excess money where you'd be like, oh, I can buy a new car, I can do all these fun things. It's not that. It's like here's what you have to put in the nest egg to save and prepare for later. And that book kind of busted me out of my like tunnel thinking. And I was like, all right, maybe this is a little bit of both. And if it's experience oriented, maybe it should be priority off of, some future cash flows to do what in the future,
Yeah.
So
Experience points.
experience points.
Arman, let me ask you, let me reframe it for you, because another example I use in the book is like he graduated from college and went to work on the trading floor in New York, and he had a roommate who was also working the trading floor. And this roommate tells him, he's like, I'm actually going to go, backpacking in Europe for 3 months. And the guy's like, what do you mean? Like, what are you going to do with your job? He's like, I'll just figure it out. I'll come back to it. And this guy's like, you idiot, right? Like, so the guy goes and he gets into debt, but he has like the best experiences backpacking through Europe and everything. Comes back with all these stories and all these life experiences. And the author's like sitting there working. And, it's not till like age 35 or something that the author is like, well, now I want to go travel Europe. He's like, well, I know now that at age 35, I can't go backpacking because like that's a young man's game. So I've like missed that window. So I think like the frame that I want to ask you is like, are there things that you've identified that you want to do at a young age, that you can only do at a young age, that you want to experience instead of just grinding? Because I know you want to grind, and I know you can grind very well, but there are things that you can't do forever.
Great question, man. Well, I've talked about this on the pod, actually, and those, listeners and watchers that are very OG might remember it, that I invested and committed heavily to my love of travel. And I think for different people, it's different things. Like I did do that. I did backpack like you. And I chose to push off grinding. Like, did I grind? Yes. Did I work hard? Yes. Did I try to get the best job I could? Yes. But I didn't choose work over that lifestyle piece for many years. And in fact, when I felt like I couldn't have enough of that, I quit my job. And I was like, I'm going to become a solopreneur because I don't have enough freedom. Like my primary driver became freedom more than anything else in the world. And one of the reasons I'm very like deeply satisfied with my life and my story of my life is that, like, we don't talk about this often, but like I'm really deeply satisfied with my life story. Like there's a genuine like satisfaction and happiness.
Okay, that's that. So your answer is what the book is trying to promote, and that's why the title "Die with Zero" is clickbait.
Yeah,
True.
I see. I get it. But it's interesting. And like, do I know people? Like, yes. So not everyone likes to travel. So like another example would be like just trying shit. Like too many people try to figure out what they need to do with their careers too early. And they're like, I have to become an investment banker and I need to commit to that. And that's the life I need to lead. And instead what they should do is like, go try carpentry, go try investment banking, go try, being a professional snowboarder, go try all those things. And like, I think when you're in your early 20s in particular, but also I believe it's never too late. I really do. I think that like, if you adjust your lifestyle, and like, I understand when you have kids, everything changes. And I feel that now as a person with a baby, like for sure, everything changes. But still like your happiness and your life, like it's worth everything. It's not worth being unhappy. There is no external reason to settle for anything less than a life that you can be content with. And I think as a person who only read the blinkist of the book instead of the book itself, that there's a primary message that's true there.
Do you
Totally.
get, so we have a mutual good friend, Amit. I hung out with him in Austin, actually. Love catching up with him. And, those good friends where like, you don't talk as much day to day, but then you see each other and it's like just right
Totally.
up. Yeah. Anyway, afterwards I was texting with him. I was like, hey, do you remember that documentary you showed me? It's called
A Map for Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, I remember that.
It changed.
Yeah.
So before I had met Amit, I had never really
We
thought
watched
about
it in
traveling.
college.
Like it just never. In Sacramento, I never was friends with someone who traveled a lot. Like maybe go on like a weird like to Tahoe for vacation, and he was the first one who was like, "Well, let's go here." I'm like, "What do you mean out of the country?" And then he played this book. We were roommates. He played a map for Saturday. And this guy quits his high job and he goes and travels. And it kept hitting me this last like month for some reason. And it like that was a thing that he planted in me that like all of a sudden exposed me to a whole different way of.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
and you have to give up a lot of money and a lot of your career.
yeah,
And I did. And I have no regrets. Like, I'd have a lot more quote unquote success.
right. You have more dollars or more assets, or whatever.
investable dollars,
Yeah.
or dollars saved, or whatever. But like, yeah, there's nothing that compares to whatever your bliss is, whatever your truth is, whatever it is that gives you the most experience points.
Totally.
You have to balance the future with the present. I think that's what the book is ultimately
It's
about.
balance. Yeah. So
It's about balance.
I want to ask Nick because I think of the three of us, you're the only one who's read the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I want to, because he does promise, some midway through the book, which is as far as I got, he promised some algorithm, basically, some framework to use on how to be a utility maximalist on your experience points.
Yeah. Well, he had like some investing advice, and I skipped through those
Oh,
chapters.
it was terrible.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
He said the word annuity, and I was like,
Yeah.
skip.
Horrible.
Yeah. So maybe I skipped through that portion. Like I just was like, nah, you just lost 2 chapters for me, brother.
Yeah.
So maybe I skipped it, but I don't remember it offhand. But I imagine it's something like where you can map out your retirement. But like, I don't know, majority of people are just trying to even keep up for retirement. So I don't know how much it is, how much like the die with zero specific thing is like, or the algorithm makes sense. Arman, you were like, talking about what should you spend your time? Maybe it's not traveling.
Yeah.
And we
that
had
was
this
my
episode on the lottery. Like, that's a good way to think about if you had all the money in the world, what would you do?
Right.
So I don't know if you guys saw this 31-year-old won the $2 billion lottery.
thing. Oh my God.
And he's just buying mansions in California.
He bought the baddest houses on earth. Way sicker than, by the way, all these stupid palaces that I saw in Turkey.
He bought like a $47 million one, a $25 million one, a $5 million.
kidding me.
He's just going and gobbling up these houses for cash. So I want to know.
Oh my
I didn't see
God.
any articles talking about what else he's spent. He's
Does
accumulating.
he have an island yet?
Not yet.
Come on. You got to get an island.
Who knows? Maybe at this pace he'll just be broke in 5 years. But
Probably.
yeah, this is hilarious though. It's like,
Probably.
fuck it. Buy you. Add to cart.
Oh my God.
All right,
Good
boys.
chat vibes today.
I don't know. I think chat's having fun.
Yeah, I want to send out a general appreciation from us to our community, man. I know Nick and Steven got to hang out with everyone at Permissionless, and Eric and I.
So much FOMO, dude.
So much FOMO. Missed you guys, but also all the ones that weren't at Permissionless and listen every week and watch every week. And we really love you guys. Like, we're having so much fun. Just wanted to have a check-in moment on that because I really feel like you feel that, but I want you to hear that it's a very real thing.
Well, our permissionless attendance doubled our last event. So
Yeah.
we're scaling, baby.
Scaling.
Yeah.
ETH Denver for sure, Dan.
Yeah, I
ETH
think like
Denver
the
for
ETH
sure.
Denver permissionless
That's a
tempo is
good
good. One's in February,
biannual-
one's in September.
That's a very good
Denver,
schedule.
Austin, not two bad places to hang out at.
Yeah. Maybe one day an AI conference.
Go on.
Do those exist yet?
Yeah. We
Open AI Dev Day is coming. That'll be big.
yeah, are you gonna be there?
That'll be big. Probably not. I'm going to be in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You guys go, though.
Yeah, very good.
All right, guys. Well,
Good talk.
thanks for everyone in the chat for hanging out with us live. If you're just listening, if you have time, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern is when we are live.
Oh, you say it in Eastern now?
I thought I'd just switch it
I
up,
like that.
like
Yeah.
always give the PSTs.
Very like Bloombergy.
Yeah, I didn't want to be all West Coast
Yeah.
only.
I like that.
Yeah, it was kind of very Bloomberg. like telling London time. Anyway, that was fun today, guys. Give us any feedback about the episode. If you want to hear more stuff, less stuff, let us know in the Discord. All the links are at alfalfapod.com. And we're out of here. We'll see you.